What's going on? Can you hear me, Tuhon Arlene? You gotta unmute yourself.
Yes. Hi.
Okay. Hey. How you doing? So what's going on, guys? I don't know what happened there. The theme music kind of didn't go through. I don't know what happened. Was it playing?
Wait, sorry. Oh, there you go. I was hearing a lot of things. Okay.
Yeah, what happens when you have your headphones on and I don't have them on? There's a lot of feedback in there. So that's
okay.
probably what you heard yesterday. You can hear me now, though, right?
I can.
Okay. So, guys, this is episode 7 with Tuhon Arlene P. Stevens and PTK, Pekiti-Tirsia. And the subject today is going to be pretty much any damn thing we want to talk about. But yeah, no, really, it's going to be the main focus is going to be on combat geometry and some other fun stuff that Tuhon Arlene is going to talk about. If you don't know Tuhon Arlene, maybe you're hiding under a rock. I don't know. She's very well known. One of the female Tuhons of PTK, first female Tuhon of PTK, the only one I know of. And she has a fantastic book. I'm going to plug the book, which I believe it's still available on Amazon, correct, Tuhon, on your website?
That's correct. That's correct.
And this is an awesome book. I've looked at it many times. There's a lot of different stuff in there. She's taken the time to really break down a lot of stuff in PTK and a lot of stuff in FMA. It's a fantastic book. Mine is gotten some heavy use, and mine's autographed, guys. I don't know about yours, but mine is. So. But yeah, fantastic book. Highly recommended. So you guys can get that. It's available. I highly recommend picking it up. And her husband, Tuhon Malcolm's in there getting beat up in a lot of the demos. So a shout out to him as well. Someday we'll get him out on the show.
I told him that you will say hi. So
yeah, I want to get him on. I want to talk to him though. I want to hang out with him and talk to him and stuff in there.
We should fly there and have some barbecue.
We should, or I'm gonna get my ass over there. I want to.
We're planning on that.
Yeah, we need to. We've been talking for a while now. Tuhon Arlene is also the founder and the admin for FMAConnects, which is a site for female practitioners and Filipino martial arts. For the people that don't know that, so she's a lot of wears many hats. So I'm thankful for everybody that's joining in. I'm happy to see a lot of women joining in. That's what I want. Ladies that are watching, feel free to comment and feel free to follow the page. I want you guys to feel comfortable on our show, and I want to feature a lot of female practitioners. You know, not just in FMA. I think Coach Kurt's done a wonderful job of getting some women in like Krav Maga, BJJ, and wrestling, and we're featuring. Those aren't really my forte. Like my background is FMA and combative stuff like that. So I'm trying to get a lot of more of the FMA female practitioners and other practitioners like combative stuff like that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about and start this thing and talk about this. So for those who are watching, I'm sure everybody's watching is probably they're pretty familiar with some form of combat geometry. But I want Tuhon Arlene to kind of really just talk about it and the importance of it in your training if you're doing FMA, and not only that, just any kind of martial arts, the footwork, angles of attack. So Tuhon Arlene, I'm going to shut my mouth. I'm just going to let you talk about this.
Okay, Kuya Brian. Thank you for inviting me here, and also for the people who are interacting right now on YouTube and Facebook. I'm also monitoring them so that we can interact with them in real time. So I appreciate your time today. It's pretty early in other parts of the United States, so thank you for being up early. Appreciate that. Before anything else, yes, for FMA Connects, I am the administrator, but I am moderating it with Maria De La Torre, who's also the host of This Side of the Blade. We don't do podcast as much, and we just started in July. So just like you, we're starting out, and so I think this is an awesome opportunity so that we can team up and make sure we cover as much topics as we can. Also one that's led by our women practitioners here. So shout out to all FMA Connects members as well. So anyway, yeah, no, I'm coming in here not as an expert, a subject matter expert on combat geometry, but thinking about a topic to talk about for this podcast. I thought it would be nice to have a conversation about it. So I'm really here to, just help facilitate this kind of discussion. So for combat geometry, I think it's present in all Filipino martial arts, but I'll be focusing on Pekiti-Tirsia and what I have learned from Grand Tuhon Leopoldo Gahe, as well as the other Tuhons and other gurus that I have trained with along the way. Just to start with that, obviously, combat geometry is really helpful because I think that, it's one way that we can master the system. The first thing what we talk about here would be the triangle. And in my class, I like talking about the triangle as in the parts of the triangle, what the names are, because once you establish the language and that they know the shape and what it does, then it helps us really understand the principles. And it just makes learning much more fun because it's something that you can apply in real life, or, just come back to your grade school or in high school mathematics and,
Oh man.
The funny thing is now that I'm older, I understand math more, and I just felt like I wish that I'm more mature when I was, back in the day to really understand it. And it's not really that hard. It's actually fun. So, like I said, we don't do any advanced math in our class, but we do talk about the language that's being used, right? So, for example, like what are the parts of your triangle? It's so easy. It's the apex, the sides, and the base. And the reason why it's important to talk about it is because that way, as an instructor, whenever I say, move to the like the side of the triangle, or like complete the base or trace the base of that triangle, the language is easy. Giving the instructions becomes easier for me. So that's really the only reason why we geek out, I guess. And then also the degrees, so the angles that it makes. So whenever 45 degrees, 180, 360, all of those degrees, it makes it easier to communicate what you're trying to do and where you're going. So, as you know, a triangle has three sides, right? And the triangle is the mother of all shapes. And the reason why I say that is because if you remember your preschool, I don't remember much of my preschool years.
No, I don't remember. I was an idiot. I didn't go to preschool. My parents.
I know, it's just with my age now, it's like, okay, it's a blur. but as a teacher, I did teach in a public school setting, and I did teach in a preschool level. And the three shapes that you really teach in the beginning are the three primary shapes, just like when you're teaching the three primary colors, right? So the three primary shapes would be the triangle, the square, and the circle. So the triangle is the mother of all shapes because the shapes come from the triangle, or comes from the triangle. Sorry, I'm not an English teacher, as you can see.
There's no judgment on the show.
And that's why I love you.
Thank you.
So, but you see, right? So when you put together a triangle, it can be a square. So any right-sided, a right-sided triangle, like with a 90-degree angle, that's going to be a square. If you put together acute angles, that could be a rectangle. It can form hexagons, any polygons, any quadrilaterals. The rhombus, which is what we say as the diamond, is also formed. So as I'm saying all of these names, even the cross, if you think about the cross, you can think about it as, okay, those are like 4 right-sided triangles. Unfortunately, I can't draw right now because there's no board, but you can see that forms the cross, which we talk about the sectors a lot. It's just so fascinating, I think, and that's the reason why combat geometry is one of the things that we really talk about in my class. I really emphasize that.
Uh,
And usually when we talk about the triangle, I talk about it under the Tri-V formula. Yes, Kuya. You have a
Sorry, I always
question?
interrupt you. I got I feel like I'm like asking a lot of questions here. Look at the flag in back of you, if you don't mind, the Filipino flag. Do you think that the whole, because I've been staring at when you're talking about that, so I'm kind of visualizing what you're talking about, the triangle, the base and sides. Do you think that when Grand Tuhon kind of wrote this whole thing, well, he didn't like, invent it per se, like, combat geometry's been on other systems and everything throughout history. But you think that maybe he took inspiration to the Filipino flag in the back of you?
I cannot answer that question because I really don't know. But I'm gonna tell you, in our class, we say that that flag is the map of Filipino martial arts. Now, my students know that this is a made-up thing, that I made it up to make our lessons exciting, right? If they know that this is not a historical thing. I mean, maybe not. Maybe other people here can say more about it because they know more
Yeah,
about the
I'm just
history.
kind of wondering
But
because in my head, like,
yeah,
yeah.
no, for real, because that the white triangle, the equilateral triangle that you see at the back, which is the white part, that actually stands for equality in the, when you look at the meaning of the flag, which we also
Mhm.
talk about in our class. So yes, whenever I have new students, the reason why it's there is because when I have a new student or other people who needs to visualize it without the sticks on the floor, I ask them to face the wall where the flag is. So not only is that our map for footwork, but that's also your map for your initial striking, like your angles 1 and 2. You can actually trace that, and it has been my tool for the longest time. That flag has been in existence since I started PTK here in the Philippines. That was the first flag that I bought, and I just kept it. So that's like historical flag now for our group. So whenever you need to perfect your angles 1 and 2, you can just look at the flag and trace. And sometimes I would call it trace the red line, trace the
Mhm.
blue line.
But if
That
you
way
look
you
at
can.
the flag too, it also has the sides, the bottom. So it's not just the triangle you're looking at, you're kind of like, isolating. There's different angles all over that flag that maybe,
Yes.
could have been some kind of inspiration. I mean, I'm just wild speculating here. I don't want to like, talk out of my ass or anything and try to act like I know what was in his head when it was just being developed. But I'm just kind of looking at a logical sense of looking at that flag, and I'm seeing all these different angles that maybe or maybe not, and I'm not going to say, we say maybe not, so I don't get in trouble. Maybe there's some sort of inspiration for that whole, the Tri-V formula, the footwork, you know what I mean? So that's just my speculation, but, when I was talking, I was kind of just looking at it. It's right above your head in the frame. And when you're describing it, I'm already visualizing the different attacks,
Yes. And you say the word visualizing a lot, because even for the book, Visualizing Flow, well, again, I dreamed about that top title. Initially, it was called like Pekiti-Tirsia Training Manual that I have, which is a big binder. And that's where I keep all my notes. But then I just had a dream. I was like, you know what? It should be Visualizing Flow because we visualize the patterns. And again, and Kuya, you mentioned, I'm going to deviate a little bit. You mentioned it a little bit. We don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble either. And I don't know the history. I don't know
Yeah,
everything.
that's why I
And
said
I
I was
think this
speculating.
is, yeah, no, but the thing is this is why I am very excited for this podcast, because the Fight House Talks podcast is about, having like informal discussions about something we really like to do and we're passionate about. And I think it's really important to be playful with it as well, be playful with the ideas, because that's when you start creating the ideas in your mind. I mean, maybe it's been established already by the Filipino martial arts masters. We really don't know. But sometimes when you allow your mind to kind of go there, that's when a lot of the things are revealed to you, meaning the lessons that you've learned from your masters, it just gets revealed. And that's why in our class, we have that. We have to be playful with it. And then not playful, like not serious about what we're doing, but playful in a sense that you got to explore this, right? And we cannot always like look at what the book says. At the end of the day, you gotta really, right, the structure is there for us, but you have to let loose, because at the end of the day, you want this to be a part of your imprinted in your system, and make this your natural, like your natural set of movements, not something that's foreign to you. So it has to be yours, right?
Yes, it does. So my question is, when you teach the combat geometry and the Tri-V formula, triangle angles of attack. Because I notice you have a lot of female students. Are male students and female students taught, because obviously the size difference between a woman and a man? Is there any difference in teaching when this is taught, or is it kind of just taught unilaterally, like, hey, this is what the base is, this is how we teach it? I'm not going to teach it different for you because you're the size A, B, and you're this size. Are you teaching it kind of like, based on student needs or student size differences, or is it kind of taught universally, like, for a man and woman, it's going to be the same thing?
I look at it in different ways. Okay, so I do not teach. So the curriculum, the lesson is universal. It's for everyone. The triangle does not change because you're a woman. Okay, it's the triangle. And this is what's good about this.
I know it's a dumb question, but I get to ask.
Oh, no, it's not a dumb question. I actually like that you asked this question, because I think it's time for a woman to answer this question. Because I know in FMAConnects, in this side of the blade, we're asking both men and women, see what they, and I'll in this show, I will tell you what I think about it.
Okay.
And it's exclusive because I'm not participating in this side of the blade in that sense. I'm not a guest. I'm the producer. But anyway, so Kuya Brian, for for that question, they're not taught differently. Okay, they're taught the same. But just like to be a teacher who will go out of her way, I would like to see my students as an individual, and then also as a mini group, a small group, because I do teach in small groups, and then as a collective, as a whole, because I do put them together, and then we are one whole big group, for my group. I think I have to see it that way. The women may have their own challenges, but I don't see it as, okay, it's because they're a woman, it's because they're an individual. And then for the group, I would like to see how they perform together as a group and how they digest the idea, because there has to be a dynamic that's happening between all of them. So if it's not happening, or if it's happening, I have to kind of redirect that experience so that they can learn from each other. And then they have to share. There's going to be a point in there where I'm going to start asking questions so that they can go ahead and share those ideas with everyone else. And then they learn from each other, like I said. And then from a collective, I will pick people with some special skills and who are ready to share with the whole group. And then we do the exact same thing. Again, gender is not really a big, not what's the word for that? It's not really, it's a consideration whenever I'm dealing with them, but it doesn't affect the curriculum per se. That's the question.
Yeah, that was my question, because there are some instructors out there that I dealt with and do the structure size difference with a woman. They're going to teach that I think we talked about this before when we did the interview thing. They're going to teach it differently with a man, teach it differently with a woman. Because obviously most women are probably faster than men, like on their feet, with moving around, due to they're smaller, they're able to, take the smaller steps and get there faster. At least the women I've dealt with and when I've taught, it's like, I'm always stumbling around on my shoelaces and shit. And then they're just kind of like moving around real fast, like around me. And I'm just kind of like, so I've noticed that in the sense that, at least for some people, they will teach curriculum different. But I'm glad you answered that question. That was kind of, wanting to emphasize and touch on that. So with just like you said, with the triangle is like pretty much the base. Like when you first start teaching, like that's your base for like angles of attack, footwork. What else do you like as your student progresses through your curriculum? Does what other geometry do you start advancing to next? But obviously, like I said, with triangles the base, but what do you go to next as far as with footwork, angles of attack, and obviously footwork is very important. How much do you emphasize footwork in your curriculum, Tuhon?
Honestly, footwork is easy. If you get the pattern already and you list down all the patterns that you have in your system, it's easy to give that information because all they need to do is repeat it. So it doesn't take years to learn. And I have adult learners too. I don't teach children at this point. I have done it before, but for right now, I'm focusing on adult learners. So once they see the function of the triangle, what the concepts in geometry is, and how these shapes are formed from the triangle, then I show them the progression of footwork. So for that lesson, what I do is, now I'm going to show you the other patterns, but I'm drawing on the board so you can see how it's formed, so that in your mind you're starting to have experience of how you can visualize this. Right now, this is just low level thinking, meaning I'm giving you a pattern and you're going to move in a particular direction based on that pattern, and that's it. You're just learning the how, on how to move using those shapes. Then eventually you're going to have to move to another level of thinking, which is, okay, how can I apply this whenever there's already a person in front of me? So how can I navigate myself using these patterns, right? How can I move using these patterns? And then next level would be, okay, as I'm moving in this direction, what are the things that I can do with my body so that I can be in the space of the other person in front of me? And then there's a lot of other things that you can do. Like, okay, now that I know how to do it, when I move, how can I affect the movement of the other person while I'm moving using these patterns? And then another part, not the footwork, but more on the looking at your opponent, you have to see where the triangles are located in your opponent's body, so that you can also locate particular, significant targets. Like, for example, GT would say that we are all created equal. And this is also on the book. Like I said, I didn't not really explain anything on that book. There's a story about that, but I'm not going to say it right now. So whenever you have your eyes and then your nose, or your eyes to your mouth, that's a triangle right here. So then this is a significant part where you can attack, right? So whenever you form your hands, there's a triangle in there. And if you stretch it out and make it bigger, that's taking it out of its balanced state. Then now you can break something when you do that, right? So, and then over here, if this is a good structure, right, when you're hacking, and if you open that and make it obtuse, that obtuse angle, then that means you're destroying that equilibrium. You're making it a weaker structure, or vice versa. When you're pinning your opponent here, you're also reducing the angle of that triangle.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, there's triangles everywhere. I didn't even realize that to you. Thank you for pointing that out. It's got me thinking now in my head when you're talking about, with the fingers,
yes.
Your eyes.
Even in your stance, right? When you imagine yourself in a horse stance, what do you form with your legs? That's a triangle. And then if you do bladed, that's another triangle. Now, in that triangle, there are also other things in math that you can use, which is your parallel. So lines that are like this are parallel lines, right? And a line like this is called a perpendicular line. When you're trying to take down somebody and trying to get them out of their balance, you have to put the force more on the perpendicular line so that you can take your opponent down. So that's another concept that you can use when you're explaining these lines, or you're explaining your techniques.
You should have made the book into a triangle.
That would be nice if somebody can print it that way. That's actually a good idea. We had other ideas for the book, but like I said, there was a time when I was rushing. I thought I'll be forgetting things. There's something happened in my life where I thought I'll be forgetting, and I'm like, you know what? I need to publish this for my students. That way, if something happens to me, you can go ahead.
I want to get into that, but first I'm going to read the comments we got here. So I want to thank everybody for watching so far. We got Alice Rivers, Tuhon Arlene, okay. Nick, I hope I pronounced that right. Jelaine Darit. I can't tell what those are. My emojis are, I think, like gloves or something. I can't.
No, maybe she's clapping. She's clapping.
Oh, okay. I can't tell. Man, my computer's all screwed up and shit in there. Tom Cristoso, how's it going, man? Good, always a good guy. Thanks for exposure. Yeah, Alice, we definitely would love to have you on. I think she did one interviews, and I saw her stuff on there. We'd like to have her on and talk about her experience and training. So we'll talk about that later. JJ Jennings, another good guy, fellow Air Force veteran. How you doing? Let me see. We got people. Alicia Dazabarada Jr. Guru, how you doing? To Arlene, how you doing, man? How you doing? Thanks for watching. Alice Rivers is bringing us some real good questions. Guru Justin Bangoy, how you doing? Hoping I'm butchering people's names and shit here. My Filipino pronunciation's been slipping lately. Damn, man, I need to start getting like shit. I need to start like. Anyway, Alice Rivers brought up a good point, and that's kind of what I want to talk about after I talk about this thing with the book quick. So the book, you said when you wrote it, it was mostly intended for like a guide for your students, correct? So it's like, is there going to be a second edition, or do we have one in the works, or?
We've been working on the second edition, or the second book, since I published the first book. So when I released the first book, that was because I was letting it go, because we're ready for the next stage.
Yeah.
So it was, for me, it was more, it's actually a process for me. It's not really for anything. I publish it for my students, but also I'm also going through a particular process. So when I was able to print it and finally let it go, I was ready for the next step. So we're looking into, for example, right now we're doing the Sinawali series, and I know Kali does that. Obviously, we got it. I was a student of the Ladras, so we practice the same thing, because I think it's a wonderful drill. But right now we're really looking into, okay, what is the closed position really telling you, right? How do you apply it? And then the open series, where I'm practicing with my students the translation of that with a knife, and the other information that it reveals in terms of knife tapping. So whenever you're practicing your open Sinawali, not only are you really practicing your flow, but you're actually preparing yourself for movements for the knife, and particularly for knife tapping, intercepting. It's rich in knowledge, and you just need to really be able to pinpoint that knowledge and express it to the class, so that people will be more aware of it while they're training it, as opposed to just learning the movements. Does that make sense?
You know what's awesome about this book, and I keep going to it, and I know people are gonna be like, move on from the book already, but I'm not going to, because the book, basically, the way I see this book is, if I came in and somebody had maybe like no martial arts background or limited background, and they said, hey, I want to learn PTK. I saw some shit on the internet, on YouTube, and man, it's like, because I've had people talk to me all the time about that. Man, I got some badass shit, man. I've seen this on the internet. These guys are doing the stick shit and the knives, man. I really want to learn that stuff. But I was like, well, what is it? What did you see? Oh, it's like some PTK stuff. So I guess what I'm trying to say, and I don't want to go too much into it, is I can get this book and be like, all right, dude, sit down, chill out, whatever, grab a beer, whatever, and tea, whatever you drink, whatever your poison is, right? And I can say, here, take this book. If you have any cognitive sense, if you pick stuff up, you could read this book from the beginning and basically just start looking at stuff, just like you're studying for a test and curriculum, and be like, and just start. I'm not saying you become a grandmaster by reading this book. It's not what I'm trying to say. And what I'm trying to say is you can get the basic understanding and start working stuff just by picking up this book, because it's so damn well written. It's probably the best book I've seen as far as like martial arts, like as a guide, that I can probably give. I mean, I could probably get to my daughter right now, but like, hey, because she's good at reading and studying. Read this book, and then come at me later on tomorrow or something in the evening on dinner time, and tell me what you learned from it. Not to say like doing Sinawali and drills and stuff like that, but I mean, just tell me. I can quiz you and be like, okay, what's where are we at in here? Okay, general types of counters, types of striking. What kind of types of striking you got? And I guarantee you, if you're book smart and you're good at reading curriculum, you could start reading this book and start your journey just inadvertently. You obviously have to do in-person training, but you can get your foot wet and get your foot in the door and learning about this, and then progressing and finding an instructor, either online or instructor in person, because it's that well written. So I see that you and Tuhon Malcolm, you guys both have a knack for setting the book up. Like I said, it's just like a book, like I said, anybody can get it and start jumping into learning PTK, the basics, fundamentals, the academic part of it, even the footwork, guys. Look at this book. I mean, I'm gonna keep looking at the book. I love this book. Just look at the diagrams for footwork. if anybody has any, really good sense about stuff like that, they can receive this book and just start working their feet without a weapon on, in their living room, in their bedroom, put some tape on the floor, some sticks. Do you ever plan on doing like a visual, like online recorded classes where you can like do curriculum like this, where you're demonstrating stuff, or is it just going to be kind of the book and just in-person training, or do you plan on?
So the use of the book, that's debatable. Some people may understand it because it's familiar to them, because this is not a secret in PTK. Like, they know their footwork, they know their patterns. It's just that sometimes, I guess, in some groups, I would assume they just don't have the usual type of training that they have is not a whiteboard training. It doesn't involve PowerPoint presentations. I have PowerPoint presentations in my class. Like, I even have PTK theories, and I present that in class. It's a part of our training. They have to sit down and listen to a short lecture. But anyway, so that's debatable. Some people may understand it, some people don't. It's a workbook, so it's not a textbook of any kind. I wish I can do that, but it takes a lot of time, and I need a team for that. But anyway, but for the question, when it comes to the tutorial, there are some videos with the page numbers on our website. Unfortunately, I'm not putting it on just YouTube. I just put it on my website so I can also see. People need support, so whenever you use the material, I'm here so that you can talk to me, text me, and tell me, hey, this is not clear to me. How does this work? What I noticed though is that some people are in the tutorial videos, and they're subscribing to it. It's like $12.99. Come on. So, but people are not asking questions, and that's why I'm a little confused if I should just not have that program, because it's really cheap, and then it's very easy. It's not, I don't talk a lot. Like, I really will just show you the moves because it's really about movement. I don't want to over intellectualize it. Anyway, but people are not asking questions, and I think sometimes what's happening is I don't think people really know what to ask from that point. And so the in-person classes are really helpful, because then we can really go through the whole process, as opposed to just regurgitating a video or a page. Back in the day, Kuya Brian, what I do is I give you the lesson, and once the lesson is over and I see that you have a skill, I'll give you a piece of paper that summarizes what we just did. And actually, those are the pages of that book. But then again, I got tired printing it out every single time. So then I'm like, hey, I need something where it's all in there and people can just revisit it, having a paper where they can sweat and it's not going to tear apart. Yeah. So that's actually the story of that book. So consider that as a workbook. And people know, trainpekiti.com, if you can get my number and text me if you have a question, please do that so that I can answer your questions.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, like, kind of like you said, like a workbook. But what I was trying to say is the way it's written is, pretty much anybody can grasp the fundamental, like the basic academics of it, I mean, like reading it. It's not confusing. It's all well described. And that's what I was trying to, I'm not trying to say you can pick up this book and, you're going to start being a grandmaster or a guru, I mean.
Yeah.
An introduction, it gives you a guide. And I think that, just with the pictures and the way it's written, like I said, anybody can look at it and you start reading and studying it and be like, hey, and then, come with questions later on.
It's a little bit universal too, because so in the end, you'll see there, and I maybe be able to explain a few of those pages. When you look at the numbers, when there's a matrix in there, again, there's the geometry in there, the math. Geometry is not just shapes. When you do matrix, the matrix, that's geometry. So when you create whenever you're given a technique by your instructor, and let's just say Sinawali, right? You do heaven and earth, right? Make sure that you're covering, okay, what does it look like when it's heaven, heaven, heaven? When it's high, high, high? What does it look like when it's low, low, low? And all the, try to look at all the angles of elevation and the angles of attack. Again, the formula is that whenever you're doing your techniques or when you're training, think about your footwork, your positioning, right? You're going to look at your angles of attack. You're going to look at your elevation of the attack. You're going to consider your range. Those are the things that you consider whenever you're implementing a technique.
Yeah,
It's really simple.
Yeah, and like I said, and the good thing is you have that technical support aspect where you're like, if you got questions, email me, contact me. So you got that, to guide you.
Yeah.
But I was reading some of the comments there. June asked where you can get the book, and I think you said that right there. Alice Rivers, I want to go back to her comment and shed on there. She was emphasizing the triangle helping her a lot, and talked about the fulcrum, about if you're small, giving you stability. Also, if you're size of disadvantage, utilizing that to your advantage against a bigger opponent. When you see, and I know, like you said, you are PTK, but do you see that like in other systems, like you've kind of like, you float around the internet, you see other videos. Do you see other systems emphasizing that as much as for women? This is like from a woman's point of view. Like, do you see other systems besides PTK? And like I say, I know you're not an expert on systems, but I don't really see that as much as PTK emphasizes, using those fulcrums, triangles for size disadvantage. I know in CLOT, they do that, for women and men, off balancing, and using that to your advantage. But do you like just what you've seen? I mean, when you float around the internet, when you have time, do you ever see like in other systems doing that, or do you kind of think like maybe the PTK is kind of like not the standard, but like you guys are doing it like with the most advanced curriculum for women to utilize those fulcrums, use the combat geometry? What do you think about that?
I think it's present in all Filipino martial arts systems. It's present in all martial arts. But if it's being talked about more in PTK, I would say yes, because we're mirrors of our grandmaster. And again, guys, this is just my opinion. You may agree with me or not. But as you can see, did you notice our grandmaster? He's a star. I mean, he's very eloquent. He talks about it a lot. He's just the way he delivers things. And so we as his children, we end up mirroring him, the way he explains things and what he emphasizes. I think that's really what it is, but it doesn't mean it's not present in all other martial arts. We're just more like celebrity about it, I think. And so now we tend to think that we're the only ones who have it, but I think it's present in all. And I've trained other martial arts when I was younger. I mean, other Philippine martial arts when I was younger. And looking back, I think it's just not the wordings that are being used. We were not there yet during that time, I think. And also, I was a child. Maybe I wasn't really, too aware of that. But yeah, I think it's more on the presentation. GT really presents it very well in terms of that. Like sometimes when he would give a lesson, he would say let X. He would talk about factoring. He would make up words like geometrics, combat geometrics. And then he would also talk about he has let X, finding the least common denominator. So what he means by that is this. Let me just explain a little bit. When he talks about factoring, he means that you have to, whenever you're doing a technique, you have to chunk it into pieces. So that's what it means by factoring. You're chunking the techniques into pieces, that way you can understand it more. When you say let X, it's kind of like you're assigning a value in something, right? So this is where substitution happens. And I teach this to my class too on how to do this substitution. So for example, you have your sabayan technique. You have a template. You're now gonna use other types of attacks. For example, you were starting with a low line thrust. You're gonna do a let X. What that means is now you're gonna think, oh, I'll do a high line attack this time to substitute for that low line attack. So you follow the template, but you're just gonna have to substitute the movements that are a part of that template. You can write this down if it's hard. For those who are listening, you can go ahead and write it down. That way you can do it, and then while you're looking at your notes, you can try it with your moves. Other people can do it instantly. Some people need some time, or some people need the visualization for this. So those are the techniques that you can do to understand.
Do you feel, I see you have a lot of I assume these are most of your students, right? The females that are on there. Do you find when you're teaching this stuff that women tend to pick up a little faster than men do? Like when you first start explaining high level attacks, triangles, shifting, stuff like that, do you kind of see like your female students like right away they're picking it up, or
No.
do you see something good?
No,
or is it kind of balanced between the two?
it's balanced. There are some people who just have a different type of learning style. Other people have no experience and are more open to it. Some people are no experience and have a lot of insecurity, so they're not open to it.
Mm-hmm.
It really depends on the situation, and that's why it's good to know your students. It's good. I ask about their background. I accept people with no experience. It depends on the balance of my class. So if I have a lot of people with experience, I need someone with no experience to enter that room, because I can't be having people having the same idea at all times. It needs to be disrupted every now and then. But
Yeah,
the disruption,
exactly.
the disruption should only be enough to create an environment that's learning conducive. Because if it's disruptive in the way where now learning is not going to happen, then I just ruined that whole work that I did to create an environment for them. So it shouldn't be like no experience to where now it's like we're being dragged to a lower level of like lessons. It can't be like this. So I interview them, and from that interview I'm already thinking, okay, where do I place this person? Where is this person perfect? So they have to jive together.
Yeah, yeah. I see that like mostly a lot of men, like I said, I'm shitty at math, and like when I see a lot of math, like it gets intimidating. When I start like I gotta just kind of tell you, when I start seeing some of the stuff in there, I mean most of it's stuff like, and I did in my system. A lot of it's basic, like triangles are triangles in a lot of systems, and different like side to side footwork, angles of attack, stuff like that. But like it seems like it kind of would be a little overwhelming, like at first to a lot of people. Like I know I taught my students, like the way I was taught, like with the footwork and everything, with the triangles, was kind of simple. PM Allen, when he was teaching me a lot of stuff, and Tuhon Ruby, when they were teaching a lot of stuff, it wasn't like as complicated as per se. So when you talk about like a lot of the math and stuff like that, do you get a lot of people that come in and they kind of get like I said, I hate math. All right, I mean and I don't know why I say that, because I do fabrication for a living, so I do math all day, figuring out angles, figuring out bends of angles, bend allowances, using designing stuff out of metal, doing whatever. But I don't know, maybe it's because I do it all day, and when I see it like this, it's kind of like but even I hate reading blueprints. Like we got blueprints with different angles, stuff like that. Like 45 degrees, this hole goes here. You bend this here. Another hole goes at this many degrees. So I see that. But do you find that when some people, like if a person just barely starts, do they kind of get a little overwhelmed? Do you kind of ease them into like this whole thing?
So this again, the story of the pages of the book is that I give the lesson first, and once they've mastered it, I give the piece of paper. It's the same thing if you have children who are ages 3 to 6. Before you give them a piece of paper or have a pencil in their hand, you have to give them certain games or certain activities where they can actually manipulate something with their hands and form their gross and fine motor movements before you actually go and ask them to write. Okay, because that's traumatic. The same thing here would be that I need to get them to moving, get them to understand it, and then a piece of paper comes. The only downside of that workbook, and I'm going to say it, is that now with my new students, they see that it's already there. So what I ask them to do is just to bring it, and then I will do the exact same thing again, go through the lessons, and then I will tell them what page it is, so that then afterwards they can go ahead and look. So if as much as possible, I don't want people peeking before the curriculum. That way it doesn't kind of break the surprise, because I need them to go through the in-person class where they're going through an experience. It's an experiential learning rather than it being rote learning. So that's the strategy for that. And that's the reason why, again, maybe the mistake that I made, and I'm going to say it in public, is that it's been available on Amazon where it's supposed to be a workbook for my class only. Now, I'm not saying that people shouldn't buy the book. And that's why I created a little tutorial. It's still in the process, but like I said, I've been busy with work and all. But there has to be some tutorial there with the page number so they know. But always, the only reason why I'm not putting it on YouTube is because it needs to be a part of my program so that people can actually interact with me and ask me what it means, because it's a little special. You really can't find it anywhere else, right?
And I want to go back to what I said earlier. I'm not saying, like I said, I want to misconstrue, like, pick up this book, you're gonna learn. Obviously, it's gonna be questions, but I'm just saying, if somebody had interest in it and they're like, hey, I want to learn about PTK, this is the first thing I'm going to hand them. Like, bon appetit.
Yeah.
You know, read it. If you have questions, contact Tuhon Arlene. I'm not going to say, well, if you have any questions, I'll try to answer it for you. I have nothing about PTK. I mean, some of the stuff is universal through all FMA, of course. But like, there's a lot of stuff I don't know, about like the different, some of the terminology and stuff you have in there. But like I said, it's just an excellent book. I don't want to dwell too much on the whole show on it, but I mean, it's an excellent book. Pick it up. Well, it'll be on Amazon for a while, right? Or are you going to pull it off?
Yeah, it's going to be on Amazon, this first edition. And also on my website, there is a tutorial there that you can log into. It's not extensive. Again, the idea is for you to learn it. So it's not like a lot of information. It's really for people who who are willing to start from scratch and really just, refine their understanding of it. That's what it's for. Because there's a lot of resources already on how to do things, right? So what I'm offering to the community is, another perspective of it. That's really what I'm contributing to our community. But thank you, actually, Guro Brian, for highlighting it and also for appreciating it, because I know how the story of that book between you and me is you gave me your work of art, I gave you mine. So, but I appreciate you.
Mine was nothing compared to this. I mean, mine was just sit in the basket. But this is something that that you can always pick up. Like when you really want to understand stuff and just kind of like go through it again over and over. I mean, my shit, you'll swing it around a couple times, you'll throw it in the basket and be like, okay. But this is something that's going to last you like forever. Like, it's never going to go away. It's always going to be there. And we were talking about, the combat geometry and tactics and stuff. We're coming up on the 10 minutes from the first part of the show. Now, Tuhon Malcolm, your husband, he obviously is a Tuhon. He trains with you. He doesn't teach, right? Or he does teach?
No, he teaches, but right now he's busy with his degree. He's almost done. He's graduating. So I already graduated, and then it's his turn. And yes, we are Tuhons. I try to joke about it. So we are the real Tuhons because there's two of us.
They are. This is FMA royalty, guys. I mean, like two Tuhons, the FMA power couple. Tuhon Malcolm, I'm an awesome guy. I know I don't plug him enough, and I probably should. Just in the couple short times I've talked to him. Just a nice all around like awesome guy, a very supportive husband from what I hear from Tuhon and Arlene. They're like the FMA power couple. I mean, like you got two Tuhons that live in the same house, and teaching and carrying the love of the arts. And one thing about Tuhon and Arlene I've noticed is her passion for the arts. It's not really business oriented. Her passion for the art is something that she really believes in. She's not just in it to make the dollar like about 85 to 90% of the people that are out there. Just, I want to make money off this, She actually wants to help people. And I'm not a student of hers. So before people start saying, well, you were saying because you're a student. I'm not a student of hers. I'm a friend of hers. But she really is passionate about the art and stuff from feedback from the students and stuff like that has been awesome. I want to go into the, I know people are on here on FMAConnects. But there's some people that are watching who don't know what good FMAConnects is. I recently did an interview, and I heard what happened after. We're gonna have to redo that again. But about catching the perspective, for people that are males in the arts and getting their views on things. And FMAConnects is one of those sites that a lot of people are like, well, it's all women, and they hate men and everything. No, it's guys. I've heard that shit from so many people. It's not even like that. It's completely balanced and fair. There's men on there doing interviews, men on there doing helping seminars, and I think what it's good is she's shedding the spotlight on a lot of the unsung voice of the art, which is female practitioners. I want to see more female gurus, female Tuhons. And I know a lot of guys out there, they want to just see, well, they're just practitioners. But I don't know about you, but I want to see more female black belts, more female instructors. And what did we talk about? I don't want to give anything away. Okay, I know I don't want to spoil anything. Me personally, and I talked to Tuhon Arlene about this. If I had a chance to learn between a male and a female, I would probably. I've first started my journey with a female instructor. And I liked it better than my male instructor, to be honest with you. Obviously, there's some things here and there we'll talk about later on, whatever, another show. But I just felt that, I learned a lot better with the female instructor because of that, just that thing of, taking the patience and time to explain things. And a lot of people might disagree by watching it. But, I'm not saying anything bad about male instructors. I have a lot of male instructors I'm learning from now. I'm just saying, like, if a female instructor came out as a black belt, like, or grandmaster, like Tuhon, I would have no problem easily, asking her, not telling her, you're going to teach me, like requesting, asking her permission. Hey, can you teach me? Can you be my instructor? I would no problem doing that. And I think FMAConnects, your show has been really fair and balanced. And you guys are really trying to get yourself out there. And you guys are, getting yourself out there. With the, a lot of, you got some great female practitioners on there that I think I want to start highlighting on the show later on down the line in the show. I don't want this to be the end, but like just the only, person we're interviewing, female FMA. I know we're going to have Guro Brian on and her fiance on to talk about, and I want to include you guys in that too, talking about pros and cons. Being married to another, that's going to be a whole nother show, but let's just kind of delve into it a little bit. What pros do you see, since I have you on now, of training with your spouse?
You have a lifetime opponent,
Well, I'm not talking. We don't need to know about all the stuff behind closed doors.
No, for real. I have different ideas, and Malcolm has different ideas. He has a different experience, and sometimes it's really good to check on how I understand things. We've gotten way better because now it's really more about, hey, I'm consulting with you. What do you think about this? Or sometimes I would ask him, how did I look in this video? Like, was this okay? Or
because you get an honest opinion because he's your husband.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna get an honest opinion with Malcolm. Like, he's a Marine. He's not gonna sugarcoat it for you, and I can take it. I've grown with him, so we formed a relationship that's open like that. Really helps. It helps because anyone else would might be nice to me, and I know Malcolm will give me.
Do you feel that when you guys do teach together that you actually get a better end product with your students, like when you have those two different varying viewpoints?
No, it's not a good product when we teach together.
Oh,
we have to
teach. Opposite.
Okay, so here's our strategy. And any strategy in any classroom with two instructors, okay? And this is my profession before. So there's only one teacher on the floor. So even if we're both Tuhons, we have to decide, okay, who's teaching tonight? So if he's teaching, I'm his demo partner. And I'm just letting him kind of do his thing. I'm not going to correct him. I'm not going to, even if I have a different idea of things, I'm not going to do that. Now we've done better now to where now I can kind of get in there and just, if he's busy with one side of the room, I can go to the other side. If they have a question, at least they're not waiting too long for their questions to be answered so that they can keep practicing. So I can save him some time. So I can do that. I'll be the assist. And then when I'm the main instructor, then he will assist.
Okay.
Because if we're doing this together, it's going to be a sugar honey iced tea show. Okay. That's what it's going to be.
But I thought totally opposite. Here I was thinking like, man, like, they teach together. I bet you it's like one badass class. Like he's like, all right, you got this, I got this. But you're telling me it's completely kind of opposite. So that's
it needs to be complementary. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
it needs to be complementary because you don't want the students to be confused. And when he offers a perspective, they need to focus on that perspective and really explore that. So we want our students to have that moment,
different
really regurgitate it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plus, Malcolm has his own expertise. I have my own expertise. You can count on me on the sticks and the knives. Not that he's poor with that, but he's really excellent in the muscle tendon destruction, taking down people. I'm not comfortable too much with rolling around with students. I trust them, but I just don't feel comfortable rolling around because sometimes they're big and I'm really small, so I can't show the
that's understandable.
perfect way.
350-pound guy, you're not gonna be doing Dumog on the ground and trying to wrestle him. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that.
Yeah, and the students can't see the technique because then but my bones are so small they can't see the lever. But if it's Malcolm, you can really see how he does things. It's clear. So you have to decide based on what serves you students more, because it's not about us. It's really about them and how we can give them the information.
Off topic, you know Coach Danny, right? Danny Terrell.
Yes.
Yeah, he came here last year, him and his lovely wife, and we had an awesome time. We barbecued and stuff and did a little training. He took me through the Dirty Dozen, which I'm like, he's like, we're gonna do the Dirty Dozen when we come back, and I'm kind of like, okay, we'll do it. But he's actually coming in like 2 weeks, and his teaching style is kind of, I feel it's not similar to yours, but like he gets really into like the drawing and like the basic stuff like that, like you do. So I could see like where that PTK teaching style is kind of like inherent with a lot of the instructors that I've interacted with, in that system. They really detail into like the footwork, detail and stuff like that. But Coach Danny is awesome, man. That guy's awesome. What a legend that guy is. I mean,
I agree. I've attended his class too one time, and it's a thought-provoking process, that GT is offering to his students. And then again, from GT to the masters that he has produced, and the masters to their student gurus, their students, it really gets passed on. So and this just really says that good leadership and being a good teacher, it's a must, because then it really affects from top to bottom, it really affects it. So we have to be careful with that.
Yeah, you do. Going in a down the road, do you see yourself like kind of like, I know you like to do like the classes at home and stuff. Do you see yourself traveling again, doing like seminars, stuff like that, like to all the United States again? Or I know due to work and everything, you guys' schedules might be difficult, but do you see like the next 2 years or so maybe going and doing like seminars and stuff like that?
I'm available now, because before I wasn't available. Now that I'm out of the service, I'm more free to do things like that if that opportunity will come. But I've had some invitations, but they're not really as clear yet. But if anyone's interested and see how the whiteboarding works, how the matrices works, how you can make this, sure. I don't mind doing that. If the community wants it, then I'll be of service. But if not, I'll be here, happy with my community here. Awesome.
I was just thinking the other day too. I was like, because I mean, I'll be honest with you, like I really haven't done FMA. The only time I do FMA is when my students come and I teach them the system. But like me personally practicing it like all time, I haven't been doing it. I mean, I know I'm a scumbag, but I just haven't did it. But if I do get back into another system, because I have the 2 systems already FMA that I'm already instructors in already. But if I do ever get into another FMA system, I'm definitely seeking. You're the first person I'm going to seeking out for training. And I think I've mentioned that to you before. If you would have me, I would definitely, would seek you out and get back into the whole journey thing with that again. It's just that, like I said, now my focus on training has been in other avenues besides FMA. So I think what it is, after years and years and years of doing so much knife, and like, I recently did a Medusa, which is that system, an excellent system Mike Raymond and Jason Schultz did for knife. I'm kind of like, okay, I'm putting the knife away now. Like I got so much knife now with Silat, Velati and Silat, with Varentai, and then other systems. It's like, I don't want to learn any more knife anymore. I just kind of want to do something else. That's why I've been doing mostly like combative stuff, and just kind of like everyday things. When women come to you, and this is where I want to lean to the next thing, because we're talking about self-defense, stuff like that. What are your thoughts? Like, if a woman comes to you and she says, Tuhon Arlene, I was attacked, whether, sexually or just domestically attacked, abused. What is your, like, do you like, I know you're empathetic because you're a woman, but like, do you feel like, does the burden on your shoulders feel that you need to protect that woman from another attack by showing her everything you got for knowledge? Or is it kind of like, I'm going to show her what she, like, if she says, I just want you to show me this and show me that. Or do you feel like maybe the burden lies on you to like, I just can't, half-ass it. I got to show you the whole thing. to protect yourself. Because there's been women that came to me and be like, I don't want to learn how to use a knife. I don't want to learn how to use keys. All I want to learn how to do is gouge your eyeballs out, kick him in the, in the nuts, stomp his foot. Like, because that's what my local karate dojo showed me. So just kind of show me something else with it. And it's like, no, my responsibility as instructor is to give you the best training in order to possibly save your life. But it's up to you to practice the techniques and skills that's given to you and not just do it one time and go home and be like, I'm going to do it. So on your perspective, when a woman comes to you like that, do you show her everything you know? And also, do you also tell her, like, you need to start, if she chooses like to say, okay, Tuhon Arlene, I'm 3 classes in, I don't want to do this anymore. I think I have enough already. Like, I don't want to continue this. How do you react to that? Like, what do you say to somebody who comes like that and it's like, I think I've learned enough already. I don't want to learn anymore. Thank you for showing me what you show me. Do you just kind of like wish them on their way? Or do you kind of be like, look, like, you need to learn more because I feel that you're not there enough to protect yourself if something happens? So I hate to put you on the spot with this, but this is a question I've been wanting to ask for a while, and I haven't had a chance to ask it. So I just kind of want to ask you what your thoughts on that are.
I don't mind being put on the spot. I think I know that already when you invited me, but don't worry about it. I think we should talk about it, right? I mean, and who else would talk about it except in Fight House? But anyway, I will answer that question, but also there is a question by Tom on the Facebook, and I would like to answer that as well later on.
Sorry, Tom.
Okay, so for that, when people come to me, I'm not a master. I don't know everything, right? This is really the decision of your student to come to your class or not. If they feel that they've gotten everything, I wish them good luck, and that's okay. I don't give them a piece of my mind of why they need to stay in the class. I don't get that in my class, though, for my students, because, again, they've been interviewed. We've been through a process of them getting in, so they understand what they're getting into. So I've never had that experience. Maybe before I've had. I just can't recall right now. So anyway, if they have been... it depends. If their trauma is like soon, like it happened last week, and they go to a class to know how to defend themselves, I don't teach self-defense. I teach Pekiti-Tirsia. It's a totally different story. So I cannot offer them any self-defense stuff. I may have my own experiences and a level of proficiency in some things, but at the end of the day, they need to make that decision. There are things that they need to do to be safe, and martial arts is only one way. And even in the healing, it's also another way where you're being able to express yourself physically. It's like an outlet on a physical or creative level. But in terms of healing in other sense, they have to go through a different process, a more specialized process with professional people to help them get through. So I think for me, I would, if they will ask for recommendation, that probably would be my general answer, is that, what phase of the experience are you? Is this something very fresh? Is this a year? What are you experiencing currently? There's so many things. And in this side of the blade, we will be working on, talking to some of the ladies about the trauma-informed approach. Because even if I'm not teaching self-defense, and also, again, it depends. It's kind of like a patient. It depends on your patient. If they want to take the medication or not, it's not on you. You just need to give them, here are your options, and here is what I can offer you. So that basically is what I can do. But anyway, the trauma-informed approach may give people a good idea on how to deal with these situations. So we'll be airing that at some point. We're working right now on how the schedule of when we can talk about it and release it on YouTube. So
I see that.
We cannot you cannot, just because you feel like you're safe, you cannot just tell somebody, well, this is how you need to do your life. We don't know what's going on with the person. There's so many things at play that make someone feel unsafe, and especially if they have a situation where they know the person who attacked them or who hurt them, and to what degree they've been hurt. I mean, this is not something that a person who hasn't gone through anything or hasn't gone through a class. You can't. You don't know what to do. You have an opinion about it, and it's not about. This is not about your opinion. This is something you can't just guess. You can't guess your way through this, guys. If you don't have an idea, ask for help. You can have some resources, kind of like a lawyer on the side. You have a retainer. Have
Yeah.
a therapist that you can consult if ever you have a student going through something, so that you know how to help them effectively. You cannot just say, well, this is how you beat a guy. It's I don't agree with some of the self-defense programs out there. So I think we lost Guro Brian. So I'm gonna, maybe he's logging in, I'm gonna, if I'm still on, I would like to answer Tom's question. Sometimes martial arts in general can seem very aggressive, male oriented, and may scare some women away. What are some ways to help, or ways you help women ease into training Pekiti and martial arts in general?
Something happened there. I'm sorry, the connection got cut off and whacked me out.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what I thought. So I was reading Tom's question when you got disconnected, so I can answer that as well.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So for that, I don't ease women into anything. If they go in my class, so again, my experience is different because my process is probably different from most. So because I go through the interview, I ask them, why would you want to train Pekiti-Tirsia? Why Pekiti-Tirsia? Why me? Why us? Where are you located? What do you do for work? Just questions like that, because we want to understand, okay, why are you trying to do this? Because we're in the art of hurting other people, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So you need to do some screening. You need to do a very a simple background check, right? So whenever they're there, even in the interview, they're already having a sense of what this is about before the visit. So when they come in there, I know that the women that are filtered into the class are those who are prepared for it. Because if they're not, then I refer them to somebody else who may benefit from having them in their class. Maybe that I would think maybe it's better if you join this group because I know that they're into that. But my group, our mission is clear, and the students that we're looking for is also clear. So I think that helps. So for the women that's in my class right now, there's no easing in. They're just get in there. They're just treated like everyone else, and so the expectations are the same. But individually, if they have issues with certain things, I deal with it individually as well, because you have to consider that they're their own person too. And then whatever it is that I hear, then I kind of adjust to that so that they will have a good experience.
It's kind of like when you join the military, right? Like when you sign the contract, you know what you're getting into. You know you're going to be doing 4 years minimum, going to be stationed here. It's the same thing like when you go into class. If you see what's going on in the class, like a woman comes into your class and she sees other women doing stick and knife, it's no surprise that she's going to be doing the same thing when she goes in there. So it's like the kind of thing, you can take off now if you don't like what you're seeing. And that's what I do even with my students. Like, if a woman in my class refers another woman, I invite her. It's like, this is what we do. This is what to expect. There's no surprises here. And some women are like, well, I don't want to do that. It looks a little intense. I don't. And then they leave. There's some that are like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I try it, whatever. And I was like, so I offer that one, sample class. You come in and just get a feel of things. And if you like it, then, you stay. If you don't, like I said, it doesn't hurt my feelings if you leave. But I think
I just want to make clear though that if at any point they then, because again this is a process, if at any point then they have a discovery and then there's a wall that they need to go through, I ease them through that process. But at least now we can pinpoint, okay, where is the trouble, as opposed to it being this general fear that they can't pinpoint, and then we're like, okay, what, I'm gonna just throw something on a wall and see what sticks. I can't do that process because I'm handling, a lot of people in my class, and I'm actually seeing them again from individual perspective and the group perspective. So that's a lot of work. So then what I need to do is, if they have a one-on-one with me and let me know there's an issue, I work through them with that separately with the class, sometimes with a one-on-one. And then, or sometimes while they're in the group, and then I'll just kind of like coach them a little bit on the side if they need it. And sometimes that happens, but then, like I said, it's a very quick comeback, because again, they know that there's an expectation whenever they're there They have to be present. They have to be ready for they're about to do. One way that I prepare for that is there's a training plan that's available on our mobile app. That way they know what's my plan for the quarter. And then, I would make some announcements here and there for the week if there's something special and a little bit different going on, so that they're not shocked that something different is going to happen. There's a lot of consistency, a lot of work that's entailed in creating this environment. So I want to make sure that they're also safe, not just for the women. The guys need safety too. They also need to feel that you're not being judged, and that I'm a female instructor. I want them to know that I respect them, and it has to be coming from a sincere place. Like, you guys can tell if somebody's BS, right? So my students are the same thing. They're smart people. These are professionals, and some of them use this for their jobs. And so, you can't undermine their intelligence and their sensitivity. So, they can tell if you're fake or whatever. So that's why we're really careful with this environment, to make sure that we're consistent, to make sure that the expectations are clear, the guidelines are set. It never changes. So, we adjust to them, but the rules are the rules. So
that's good. Easy. That's good. Everybody's kind of, treated equal in that aspect. So I've been in classes before, seminars, stuff like that, but they have women on one side, men the other. And, some men are like, well, I'm not going to train with her because I might hurt her or whatever. It's just, oh, well, don't go so hard on her, And it seems like your classes are more like, we're all here to train, egos away, and let's just get it done. Let's get the training done, which is good, And I think that's important to any curriculum, any kind of structured class. You got to have that.
Well, we have a difference too. We're not a gym. As you can see, this is where we train. We're a classroom. So we are here to learn. And then there are special events where we can then do, say, sparring, right? And then we have the guidelines for that. But then again, it kind of turns into something every now and then. So that way they can be challenged as well, because we can't always be doing the learning stuff. They have to really also get in there, but they're eased into it. Like, for example, this year we did, last year we did a lot more stick fighting. Now we did a lot more of the knife, where they have the shirts, they have, but we eased that one. We definitely eased them into it, because if you ask people to spar and they don't have the tools, there's no point setting up people for failure to learn a lesson. They're not going to learn any lesson. They will just feel they're a failure. And so no, that we don't do that thing. We have to have those tools, and then we apply these tools, see what you come up with. If they go off script, that's fine, because maybe there's an opportunity for learning there. And then we explore it together. We ask questions, we have a discussion, we sit down. We have our modular chairs in here, so that whenever we need to do a circle, they can sit on one of the pillows in our...
It's a good thing too, I've noticed about your class, and I've been doing that a lot with my training lately. People always do, well, we got to do drills, stick drills, knife. What about the academics? Academics, and I applaud you for that with the PowerPoints. It's so much important before you even get to the drills, and it's good. You have to have academic training, schoolwork training. I did training yesterday, and it was all, I think the last 20 minutes was hard skills, but before that was all soft skill classroom work. Due to combatives, identifying people's behavior, de-escalation techniques, stuff about identifying predatory, a good guy having a bad day or a bad guy, the whole thing with the self-defense thing. And that whole time I spent classroom, taking notes, writing stuff down. And I know, and he was kind of telling me, like, I know you want to do like the hard stuff today, and we're gonna do the last 20 minutes of the class of that. And I'm like, dude, I don't mind. Like, this is part. The academic is so important, and it gets overlooked by a lot of people. All I see is, well, this guy's not doing this right. This guy's not doing this angle right. This knife is not going to work. How about the academic? How you got there? Explaining techniques, explaining tactics. In your case, footwork. In my case, talking about, human behavior, human factors. Getting into the whole psychological, thing, and it really makes you think. And like I said yesterday, it was like an hour and a half of just academics. It's classroom work, and I didn't complain once or say like, I'm paying for this. Why am I doing elbowing on Bob? Or doing drop kicks or step kicks. As it was all just academic work, and I feel that a lot of that gets overlooked in systems nowadays. People.
I have something to say about that. But before that, I'm gonna read a few things here on YouTube. Our KDP women are solid. Thank you, Jay. Yeah, definitely no easing into KDP. This is from one of our female practitioners. Yeah, definitely no easing into KDP. LOL. All or nothing from the start. The mental engagement in Tuhon's classes is very unique and makes it a dream for us visual note taker students. Well, the thing is this, we try our best, right? We only have an hour and a half class. Back in the day, it was a 4-hour class. Now things have changed. We've done an hour and a half because now we're doing night classes. Saturdays, sometimes we do 2-hour classes. Sometimes they hang out and then, that's okay. But anyway, so here sometimes we will do breathing exercises. Sometimes we have sound baths. I give sound baths. So I have this crystals and then they just lay down, relax, work on their breathing. And then,
Wow.
Sometimes we would do some, things that they've experienced and they share it. And the guys actually benefit from it too because they're highly stressed out. Like they go to work, they're good dads, they have so much responsibilities, and then they train, right? So I think for me, it's good to just give them that opportunity to breathe. Fighting is not always about fighting. You gotta learn whenever that dips, post fight or even post trauma, you have to learn how to deal with the trauma that you just did. Just like with military, we have debriefs, right? It's very important. And so, you may be a good fighter, but you're always on fight or flight and freeze. And then you don't know what's going on in your body. And now you're getting sick and you don't understand why. So, it's really important to have a holistic view on things. But again, we try our best. Our program is not perfect, but we try our best to always curate this into something valuable for our students. So yeah, there's that mental portion. You can't intellectualize fighting, by the way. The academic portion still is important because some people are not there yet. And the academics kind of help them kind of have a unified mind and body, and be able to implement techniques because they fully understand what it is. And again, we're talking about adult learners. These people are not children. I'm not going to be shouting at them. This is the least that they need is being shouted at to learn a lesson.
Yeah. No one pays to be abused, right?
No one pays to be abused. Exactly.
Except for me. But we won't go into that now.
We'll abuse Brian. No, joke only. But
I was abused when I first came in. Trust me. My other question to you is: are you happy to start seeing more Filipinos coming in and learning the art from the motherland? Are you like happy that you're starting to see a lot of them coming in, like starting to learn about the heritage, learn about the art?
I have a comment about that.
Okay. Okay, that's what we're here for. So
this is my opinion, okay? And I could be wrong. I'm not claiming to be all knowing in here because I really don't. I'm in my own little bubble here. The Filipino martial arts came from the Philippines. So I don't think Filipinos don't know their own art. I learned Filipino martial arts first from the Philippines, and this was probably early 90s when I was younger. And people are like, dang, I'm that old. They know what they're doing and they know their own art. I think sometimes in the documentaries, it was there's one documentary in particular, it was misconstrued to Filipinos not knowing what Kali is. But I think what it means is, do you know Kali or do you know Arnis? It's the word. It's not the art. They're asking if you know that word, and the word they don't know because that's a foreign word to them. They know it as Arnis. That's just my opinion. I don't know what people will think about it. But I think I'm happy that they're being outspoken. Do I really feel that way? Well, back in the day, there's no social media. So obviously, there's no way to do this. I think with technology advancing, we're seeing these developments that may actually have existed before. It's just that the way of communicating this was totally different. Now, Filipino martial arts school, sure, there's probably more now. But then back in the day when that's your compadre, you're learning it from your compadre or whatever. I guess it has its own pros and cons, but I think that the social media has a different way of kind of presenting this. But I think back in the day, there's already a lot of sharing happening in the Philippines. But that's my take on that.
Yeah, back in 2000 and 2003 when I first started going, I've been in the Philippines about like 18 times. So the first couple times I went, there was guys, and I was in Baclaran, Banyaki, that were doing sticks in the alleys. And at that time, I really didn't know anything about FMA. I guess I barely started out doing Muay Thai because it was offered on the base, and that's what I was doing. And then I was kind of, what are these guys doing? They had like little, and they weren't even like rattan sticks. They were kind of like just like anything they can get that was kind of hitting. And at first I thought they were just messing around, then I started asking people, and the guys like, well, that's Filipino martial arts. This is what the guy told me. The cab driver guy told me that. And I was like, well, what is that? And he is kind of like, oh, it's sticks and a knife and machete. He called it machete. And I'm like, machete? I don't know. He didn't know what he's talking about. At that time, well, that was pretty interesting. Yeah. And then a couple other times I went back. I went to different parts. And I started seeing more and more people doing it. And at that time, I still didn't pick it up. Like I said, I didn't really get into it till early 2011, 2010. And then to really start getting, filling it out and stuff like that. And then kind of like just practicing it later on by fighting Tuhon Ruby and stuff like that. Actually getting, my feet wet, both feet wet, and then actually practicing it. But yeah, they definitely know what it is over there. I mean, like I said, back a long time ago, I seen it several times over there.
Back in the day when people fight, people won't tell you, oh, I'm going to do Filipino martial arts on you. Back in the day, people just do it. And then somebody named it as something. And it's like, oh, these are the things that you guys are doing. You know what I mean? So but why are we now asking that Filipinos don't know how to do it? No, I'm Filipino. And I'm like, I don't know.
Well,
I think they know it. It's just not named. It wasn't defined as it's defined now, as in an academic or like a curriculum. But back in the day, a father can say, son, this is, if to protect our land, this is what you're going to do. Son, I want you to do it. Daughter, this is how I want you to do this.
Exactly.
Let me practice with you. Or my grandma knows how to use the machete more than me. They're laughing at me with my Kali. You're saying, where's your Kali now? My mom would tell me. She would joke with me whenever I hold the machete and say they're gonna make adobo from like fresh chicken. They're gonna do that, and they're gonna say, "Oh, now you just do the thing with the chicken." I was like, "Where's your Kali now? You're holding that machete." Oh, see, it's just funny. It's funny, but it's true. My grandma has like 3 machetes lying on the floor just whenever, and then she's badass. She's more badass than me. Yeah.
I didn't see a whole lot of that. Just a quick little story. I was in Ermita, and I went to this bar called LA Cafe. And people that are watching that have been there, they probably know what LA Cafe is. So I went there. Manny Pacquiao used to go there and shoot pool. In fact, I met him when he just started his boxing career. I didn't even know who he even was. And that guy's like, he's gonna be a good boxer. I'm okay, cool. He was playing pool in there, a pool tournament. But anyway, I didn't see a whole lot of FMA when I got a balasong pull on me in the outside the bar. That guy was like just like wildly slashing and thrusting, all drunk, and he was so drunk. I was just like, I'm just gonna run away. Like I ran away. I didn't even try to fight him. But I didn't see no angle 1, no angle 2 with that guy. He was just like everywhere. But it's just there's a lot of people over there that know how to use weapons because obviously due to the farming culture. And stuff like that. I mean, it doesn't take, genius to take somebody's head off with a machete. But everybody knows how to handle a weapon over there. That's one thing I've learned we're not going to go into Brian's, adventures in the Philippines. I have a lot of interactions over there, some unfavorable, some favorable with local people that were there. And I didn't see a whole lot of martial arts. What I did see some people that were trying to kill me. But, it's just they know how to handle weapons, and like I said, I didn't see a whole lot of technique. But if they wanted to get you, they were going to get you. But I feel that also, like the newer generation of people now, because of social media, are really starting to pick up FMA so much now. I got people at work that like, I watched this video the other day. This guy's using sticks. Is that the same thing you do? Like, let me see the video. And it's like something from like Doug Marcaida or somebody else like that. And like, well, like yeah, it's basically the same stuff. And I mean, so the social media has definitely enhanced awareness of FMA and like you said, your students they come from all walks of life. I'm sure all ages. But I mean, the social media is probably what first initially got them interested in doing FMA. So I think that social media is evil and it's a tool, and it can be a tool for good and a tool for bad. But I think that with you, like your Team Pekiti, your website and stuff like that, a lot of people are gonna start picking it up and going there. And I see people see it on the screen now. Go train with Tuhon Arlene. Definitely go pick up the book again, advertise it again. Visualizing flow, and then here's the back. Leg geometry. See, leg geometry. So cool pictures in here, like Tuhon Malcolm and her training. And then a really cool thing. I like the background picture of you where that's a nice picture.
Thank you.
The Draft woman, and then talking about her biography. Great book. Go pick it up on Amazon. Highly recommended. Maybe Tuhon Arlene will autograph yours. I'm gonna try to make people jealous. Please, I got mine autographed. But for real though, this has been wonderful. I know we wanted to keep it an hour and 30, but this has been great. Thank you again to Arlene for accepting the invitation. You didn't have to. I know you're a busy woman. You and Tuhon Malcolm got your own life. You got do things, and I appreciate you coming on again. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. You guys have been awesome people. We've talked for a couple of years already so far, so it's like we definitely have to meet sometime in the future. Sure.
Yes, anything for you, Guro Brian. You know that. You've given us full support, and we give you full support back. Congratulations on the podcast, finally. And
thank you.
Yeah. I'm happy for you. It's good to
it's good to finally
be able to breathe and yes. No, that's good. And be able to do this, have a conversation like this.
Yes, I like it. There wasn't that much cuss words like there was last night, but it was still a good conversation.
I was hoping for that. I was laughing. I was there.
Tuhon, I
was laughing last night, but
I won't do that. I won't do that. Not in front of you, no. I know people are like, well, he's acting fake. Well, you got to show respect, guys. Come on, I can't be on here talking about something last night with Tuhon Arlene. Come on. So forgive me for that if you're watching. If you didn't see the light show you saw last night. But thank you again, Tuhon Arlene. Say hi to Tuhon Malcolm. Please, Maria's messaged me about the thing that happened. Let's get scheduled again, and we'll run it back again.
Okay. And for anyone with questions, you can email me as well. It's on the website. So
she doesn't bite, guys. She doesn't bite. Tuhon Arlene's one of the nicest women I've met in quite a while, and especially in the art. She always wants to answer questions and talk. And you could send her memes and stuff on her phone, and her and Tuhon Malcolm will laugh at them and stuff. So just really laid back. Don't let the whole Tuhon thing, kind of. I want people to feel comfortable, like I know almost people know you here, but people that watch later on YouTube or this, I want you, you can approach Tuhon Arlene. She's not going to bite. She's not going to yell at you. She's not going to be sarcastic or rude. She's always going to take her time to answer your questions if you're interested. Just please be respectful, guys. If you message her to her,
just don't send me death threats. And porn pictures. Please
no death threats or porn pictures.
People have done that before. Just don't do that part.
Really? Oh wow.
And no, don't. They're confusing me with another person too. I am not that person, but thank you because she's pretty, but that's not me. So
you got a twin?
Is different.
You have a twin?
No, I've just been mistaken for this other beautiful lady who's also in an FMA. She has her own mission as well. We don't have the same objectives.
So in other words, those people are saying those things to you, thinking they're her. They shouldn't even be sending them anyway. But anyway, that's a whole different.
Yeah, that's a whole nother. Yeah, re-invite me after 2 years or something.
Just be respectful, guys, when you messenger. It's all you got to do. It's not hard. It's not hard, just like we did today.
I mean, you're not gonna hurt my feelings. I can take it, but don't waste your time.
But it's for the fact. It's for the fact, you guys are Tuhons and Tuhon Malcolm, and no one should be disrespecting you, especially you, Tuhon, and sending you dirty stuff like that, and and it's just not right. So guys, if you watch this on YouTube, don't try to be funny and send something stupid to Arlene. Okay.
I think they're not the FMAers though. I think they're more like, I don't know, maybe robots or bots, or those other things that you mentioned yesterday. So thank you actually that Julius kind of put that out in the air, because that's
yeah.
I'm just saying we're not going there, but I'm just saying it. Thank you for putting light into that, because it's not fair.
Definitely not fair, for sure.
Some people are doing bad things. I think they need to be accountable for it.
Accountability.
Anyway, it may be misconstrued, because I'm talking about this one particular thing in terms of people sending really bad messages and having like really bad women pictures in there. I just think that just let's give FMA women some time. It needs a little bit more time to kind of get there, and we need your help. Our male counterparts, we need your help to make that happen, because we can't do that by ourselves. But on one hand, and again, like I said, I don't think they're really the FMA men. I have my respects for the people who are actual practitioners of the art. I think they're not the ones who are really doing it. But sometimes you kind of get some people outside, or maybe in but kind of out, that's making things happen like that. So
I think we're probably going to have a couple people of your students on. I'd like to invite some of your students. Please reach out to me on messages, and picks will be named and shamed. No ratings on this page, guys. We don't need any pictures of ratings on Fight House Talks podcast. So yeah, we don't need those rating pictures. We definitely want to get some of your students, some of the women that are on here, if you're interested in coming on the show and talking about a certain topic, maybe your new students and to FMA, to the martial arts, and just what it's done for you. And so I want to extend that invitation to your students that are watching. Please reach out to me and DM me. I'm not going to go DM you guys, because I don't want to seem like an idiot reaching out to people I don't know. But like I said, please DM us, DM me on my page, and then we can talk, have a group conversation, and talk about getting you guys on. But thank you again to Arlene. Appreciate it. Please feel free to use the platform of Fight House Talks podcast for FMAConnects material and shows. Any kind of stuff you want to advertise in there, feel free to do it. We're a big supporter of FMAConnects, Fight House Talks podcast. So we want to extend that to you, and then extend to anybody that's watching. But thank you again to Arlene. Appreciate it. We will talk later. I'll go ahead and text you those dirty memes later, and then I was kidding. But yeah, we'll talk later. We'll talk later for sure.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and lower you down to Arlene. All right, guys. Thank you for watching again. Appreciate it. Who's up next? Well, we have Mr. Todd Fossey. The man is a badass, real American patriot, gun guy, grappling, Krav Maga, a lot of grappling, trains with Greg Nelson, Coach Greg Nelson, another badass individual, which we're hoping to get on the show sometime in the future. But Todd Fossey, August 19th, we'll make the flyer. We'll get it out on Fight House Talks podcast page. Thank you for watching. As always, I know my banner's not working. Like, follow, subscribe our YouTube channel, and follow and like our Facebook page. We greatly would appreciate it. And also, I want to let it be known now, Fight House Talks podcast is a very women-friendly podcast. We want to make this a safe place for you guys to talk on here. We want to invite you on. If you've looked back the last couple episodes, we've had a lot of women on. Coach Jen Marie from Krav Maga. We've had another woman on from wrestling Olympic coach. Coach Kurt is interviewing a lot more women coming up. So we've had a lot of women on here so far, and we want to keep doing that. We want to keep having and getting you guys story out there, talking to you guys about subjects, raw, candid, uncensored, unfiltered. When you come on the show, always remember, you will not be censored, filtered. Speak your minds. As long as it's not hate speech, death threats like we had yesterday. I had to block somebody's ass for stupid comments that were made yesterday about hurting a person that was being interviewed. will not be tolerated on this page. Racism, sexism, not tolerated on this page. Everything else is pretty much talk about whatever, not off limits. So those things, those three things, just remember, will not be tolerated on Fight House Talks podcast page. Go talk about that shit somewhere else. You will be blocked here and banned from the page. Other than that, have fun and interact with us on the page. Feel free to message us, me or Coach Kurt, with any ideas you may have for future episodes, for future topics to talk about. If you have a person in mind that you want to see on the show, please message and we'll get a consideration and we'll try to get them on. For all the women that commented today, same thing applies to you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. And on a final note, the episode we had yesterday about the reflections of FMA discussion, we got a lot of bad flack about it. I personally thought the interview was fair and balanced. We gave both sides, the good and the bad. Guys, it's 100% the truth. No matter what one person says to try to deny things, the truth is always out there. So we will definitely not ever hide from the truth. We'll always expose the truth. If it's happening, if we get attacked for the show and get a rebuttal episode, free speech, can't stop it. But thank you for all watch yesterday. Thank you for all watch today. And for that, have a great Sunday, guys and gals. And we will see you back on August 19th. If Coach Kurt doesn't have an interview before then, which he will probably post if he does. I don't think he does. So we'll see you again with Todd Fossey, August 19th. Don't miss it. It's going to be talking about the gun industry, pressure testing, and also about firearms safety and training. It's going to be good, guys. Like I said, we run the whole gamut here, not just martial arts. We'll talk about the gun community as well. So thank you for watching. And for that, have a great Sunday, and we'll see you back here again in about 2 weeks. All right, y'all. Have a good one. See you later. Peace.